Hey everyone, Dan Saavedra here from MergeYourData, and we're on day 22 of the 90-day YouTube sprint on signal analytics. And if you see this title here, that it's a part 2. We've done what are signals before, but today I felt inspired. I'm barefoot right now, I'm standing, and I want to go deeper into what are signals. I have a graphic that I really want to go deep on, and then the rest will be really short. So it's the graphic that we're going to be focusing on today. I think it really brings home a lot of what we were talking about. So we're going to focus on that. I'm Dan Saavedra, the founder of MergeYourData. We do signal analytics. So we help people grow their revenue by knowing the data points, the signals behind the top prospects, the worst prospects, and what they should do with them. I've been working with data for 12 years in various positions. So without further ado, this is the graphic that I want to get into. It is a 4-circle Venn diagram. We are not covering all of the details in here. We are just covering why signals is in the middle of all this. We've talked about these different aspects in past videos here. And so thinking about how they all interact, this is the that we use to understand what signals are. There's a lot that goes into it. We went through the 13-step process or whatever it was that we had on the past video. There's even more detail than that in terms of what goes on with signal analytics. But these are the 4 major buckets that we think about and how they interact with each other. And so we've talked a lot about attribution. It's a hot topic. People think it's the silver bullet. It's not, but it is a significant part of signals. As long as you know the weaknesses and know the strengths of it, then you can use it as part of the signal strategy overall. And then economics, we talk a lot about this one as well. This is the fundamental starting point. If your business does not have correct unit economics, nothing else matters. It's not going to work. And so there's a lot of data points that go into the unit economics, especially if you have fundraising that if you've been raising rounds, then you know that maybe your runway is a little bit longer, but you still need to achieve certain unit economics over a period of time. For businesses that don't raise money or don't want to be laden with debt, you need specific unit economics in order to continue to grow and pay everyone and make sure that you're going to have enough cash in the bank to keep doing that. And so unit economics always ties back to all of these. And it's one of the main lenses that we view when looking at signal analytics. Next is dimensional data. Dimensional data is what we've been talking about in terms of how you break down the metrics, the numbers. It's the different ways that you slice and dice the data. And so when you're looking at attribution, when you're looking at unit economics, when you're looking at conversion optimization, you're always going to be slicing and dicing the data by different dimensions so that you can get new insights out of it. And it's always going to be changing. But it's a critical part to understand. You have to think specifically about your business, what dimensions are important to you. There's always the high-level dimensions that all B2B businesses will find useful. Some will be stronger dimensions to look at than others, but when we're talking about general firmographic type data points, so company size, the industry that they're in, the problems that they're facing, the tech stack that they have, and we're talking about demographics, so your ICP in terms of the individual that's your target within an account. You're looking at specific characteristics of them. There's a good chance that you sell really well to a very specific ICP based off of the demographics. And so that's all stuff to consider when you're looking into signal analytics. It's one of the main ingredients that goes into having the signals to tell you exactly what to do and exactly how to achieve end goals. And then last is conversion optimization. We talk a lot about breaking down customer lifecycle stages and then deal stages and looking at each one individually with the lenses of attribution, unit economics, and dimensional data. And so with conversion optimization, you're just breaking it down and seeing how you can increase conversion at each stage in the journey. And so some people are front-loaded on that from the marketing aspect. You're talking about very specific ads or campaigns. And then some people are focused more on the sales portion of that. So you're talking about deal pipelines and how deals are converting stage to stage and all the other things that go into that. And so all 4 of these things are constantly interacting when we're talking about signals. That's what makes up signals. You can look at attribution alone. You can get tools for it. You can look at unit economics alone. You can get tools for it. You can do accounting, right? You can do dimensional data, which is basically data analysts who are probably divorced from the actual end result faced as a data analyst. You're just not tied back to these other things as directly. And then conversion optimization is usually a function specific for a specific skill set that people are looking to use to leverage their existing pipeline, grow it better, grow revenue better with the existing pipeline. I don't know what I was trying to say there. And all four of these things must be considered together to truly have signals. These alone can be useful, but are not the power that we're looking for. So we're going to go deeper into this now. This was the main graphic I wanted to talk about. And now there are two metaphors that are going to bring home the point of all of this. And so first is that getting ready for signal analytics is a foundation. And we're going to use the metaphor of it actually being the process of building a foundation, so then you can build a beautiful building on top with all the amenities. So when you're doing things that will always be relevant moving forward for your business to set up signal analytics, they're going to keep coming in handy in the future. It's what you build off of. It's what you keep revisiting. But you need to go through these steps in order to get the results that you're looking for to build a beautiful house. And so when we're getting ready for signal analytics, part of that process doc that we went over, you're always doing strategic planning. You're trying to figure out where the business is going, trying to understand how your product or service fits into the market. There's tons of parts that go into strategic planning. We don't need to go into all that. If you're in leadership, you do this stuff all the time, you know that that's part of the game. With signal analytics, there's specific parts of strategic planning that we're visiting with the data portion of signal analytics. And so that's how it's relevant to this conversation. 2, understanding the customer. So when you're thinking about analytics, you're thinking about how you're slicing and dicing the data like we talked about. You're trying to understand their customer journey. You're trying to see where they came from, how they interacted with your business, and then also how it results in money for you and satisfaction for the customer. And so that's all part of understanding the customer. So you're constantly doing that while setting up signal analytics, because you really have to get deep into their journey. 3, integrating systems. We talk about it all the time, getting that data back to the CRM, using first, second, and third-party sources, making sure that all of your pixels are installed correctly, all your tags are installed correctly across all of your digital assets. And so integrating systems is an exercise that you'll always be doing because your tech stack is always in flux. And so this is always a fundamental part of running a business in the modern age. It's how you build the foundation of the rest of your processes and how easy it is to adapt and perform. And then 4 is systematically improving. So all those 3 things lead to systematic improvement because you see things that need to be fixed. Pretty simple. You're doing these 4 things. It's the foundation of signal analytics, but there's more details to it. And so I put a query into ChatGPT and asked them what it's like to actually build a house foundation. And so this is the 11 steps that it came up with. I've never built a house. I've never built a foundation. Maybe this is somewhat accurate. If you're in the industry of actually building homes, just ride with me on this one. Give me a little forgiveness if this isn't completely accurate, but we're going to run with this metaphor. So just like a house foundation, there are steps involved that let you build visible results on top of. It's really poorly worded, but you build the foundation, you build the beautiful building with the amenities afterwards. Get the results that you're looking for. You can show your family, you can raise your family, you can bring friends over, you can enjoy your life, whatever you want to do with that house. And so we have these different stages here, and I put the parallel for signal analytics, setting up signal analytics in parentheses here, except for number 2, because apparently today I'm not very good with my attention to detail. So 1 is site preparation, which would be data purging and restructuring. So you come into an existing data set. If you're running signal analytics, that means you're at a certain level of success, because that's when it's worth it to invest in the entire signal analytics process. Otherwise, you have other things to focus on before that. And so you're going through this data. You're not doing anything crazy in terms of setting up systems differently. You're just pulling data from your systems. You're purging what's not necessary anymore in your old systems. and then you're thinking about how you're restructuring it. You might do it manually in a spreadsheet and re-import it at the step. You might not. Depends on how you want to run it. 2, soil testing and compaction. And I would compare this to aggregating your existing data set and trying to see from a high level what the performance is. So this might be a analysis on conversion rate from stage to stage in the deal pipeline, might be the customer lifecycle stage. This is when you're really setting things up for success by understanding where everything's scattered and then putting it into one spot so that you can get a picture of where you're at. 3, setting up formwork, ad hoc historical data cleanup. So this is when you are putting in this type of scaffolding to actually pour concrete at a later step. And so you want to do some historical data cleanup that you just exported. You want to maybe dive a little bit into some of the details, but not too much. But you want to go a little bit further than this aggregation and just understand where your customer journey lies at the current moment from what you can see. Maybe where those gaps are as well. You got to know them. You're putting out that gravel base so that you can put the vapor barrier in and pour the concrete. And so everything's built off of that fundamental financial metric gravel base that you're putting in there. 5, installing a vapor barrier, data quality dashboards for the future. So this is basically just a protection mechanism. As you start building things in your systems, you want a data quality dashboard that you go to so that, okay, something went wrong with how we're setting stuff up, or it's not as expected. Let's revisit this. And so we're setting that up at this vapor barrier stage so that we can look back at a later point and have some type of insurance before things get too bad. 6, pouring the concrete. Set up systems for signal data collection. This takes a little bit. Pouring the concrete, you're going to make sure that you have the materials correctly mixed. You have the correct ratios of how much effort you're going to put in to each system and each integration. And then you're going to make sure that all of that is consolidated into a foundational single system. Whatever that may be, we recommend the CRM because organizations are typically running out of the CRM. And so that's the concrete. The CRM is the concrete. And everything else is the ingredients that go into the concrete. 7, curing the concrete, letting preliminary data flow in. We take a pause. We let the data flow in. We make sure that our vapor barrier is catching water, right? It doesn't look like moisture is leaking through and there's issues with the concrete that's just been poured. There we go. 8, removing the formwork. Now we take out the scaffolds. We don't need them anymore. They did their job. We take out the ad hoc data cleanup if we put that data back in the CRM earlier on, or if we were using it in some types of reports like an Excel type data source, then we're taking it out. Now we're relying on the systems. 9, installing footings. I know what this is with buildings, to be honest. I didn't look into this part. But this would be the fundamental reports from signals. From what I could tell, these are like, I don't know, structures inside of the building. Sometimes they're optional. And so fundamental reports are these pillars of data that you can look at, that we typically look at when you're building this foundation, so that you can reference exactly how the system's been set up, if the data is flowing correctly, if it's giving you the exact data that you were looking for from a fundamental standpoint. 10, final grading and backfilling, more data normalization and aggregation. So we're just going to make sure that everything is structured exactly how we want for future reporting and future types of signal analytics. And then last is waterproofing, manual data quality review. We recommend this step. Prevents bad things from happening later on. You review detailed customer journeys, you review the reports, you review the integrations, get the check off on all of those. And so that's the first metaphor, but we're going to go into a second metaphor here, which is once you have signal analytics set up, it's that signal analytics is a map. You can have a destination and no map, meaning you just have point A that you're starting at and point B that you need to go to. You can get there without a map. You need a high amount of skill and you need to be a master at the fundamentals. And it usually takes much longer than if you actually have a map. So if you think about an explorer in ancient days, they can say they want to go to this far point across the globe. They're probably a really, really skilled navigator. They're experienced. They have tons of different skill sets to where they can figure out how to, in a rough way, get to their destination. Destination might not even be very clear. It might be a continent as a whole, but they know where they're going. and they're going to use their skills to get there. There's a high failure rate. There's a high risk rate. They don't know what they're going to encounter. And so that's without signal analytics. That's how you're going to be running your business as a whole. It's just what we see. You can have a map and a destination. That's the other option. That's the signal analytics option. It literally gives you the different steps along the way, the different data points in order to get to your destination. And that doesn't mean you can't run into things along the way that might be challenging, because you can get a certain level of detail with your maps, right? For a modern day map, we could have a topographical map of every single rock across the terrain. But if we're a less detailed map, just a printed map, then we're just going to have major points along the way. Both are okay, depending on where your business is at. A different level of detail is needed. But either way, when you have that map, you don't need as much skill to get to the destination. You still need skills, but you know exactly how to get there and what skills you'll need along the way because the map is detailed. So that makes planning easier because you can estimate when you'll get there more accurately. So just like in business, if you know how you're going to get to a result, you can predict more accurately by walking the numbers backwards how you're going to get there and when. And then if things change along the way, you can recalculate and re-estimate where you're actually going to get and when you're going to get there. And so signal analytics is a map, but the catch is you have to draw the map, which is a skill. And that's okay, because if you've been working in marketing or sales or revenue, if you've been in a leadership position for a while, a lot of these things you've dealt with before. It just might not have been pieced together in as wholesome of a map as you would want. And so signal analytics is one of the map types that you can use from point A to with relatively high confidence of when you're going to get there, how you're going to get there, and what adjustments need to be made along the way. So one last thing that we'll actually go over on another video, because I think it's a little too long right now, is viewing signal analytics and understanding the customer journey as math, which might scare people away, but you can't get away from the fundamentals of math. When you have 2 points on a map, you can draw a line. When you just have a single point, you can't determine acceleration, velocity, direction, whatever. I'll have to go revisit my physics courses, but you need multiple points in order to have an accurate picture of what's going on. You need multiple reference points, so we'll dive into that on a later video. Other than that, that is it for this one. So take one action, like, comment, share in a company chat. I feel real passionate about these two metaphors and then the diagram there. One announcement is that we'll be releasing these videos as a podcast as well, just so you can have another medium to listen to if the videos are too much to sit down and watch. I don't think they'll be as good over audio, to be honest, just because we do reference the visuals that are on the screen a lot. But either way, it will be on podcasts, Apple, Spotify, whatever podcast app you use, as the Signal Analytics podcast. So we'll have those videos or those episodes up. And then next videos, we'll do lead scores since I do have it on the slot for next, but we'll revisit the math portion of Signal Analytics after this. So lead scores are one data point within signals. It's going to be a good little session there. So subscribe on YouTube if you haven't. Get our signal constructor workbook in the link in the description. It's how you can plan out all of the numbers, all the dimensions, all of the triggers, all the criteria that your team can take action on. So you're defining the signals. It has a bunch of drop downs, a bunch of sheets. So it's easy. It's literally just a drop down that you can pick so you can configure each one. So go take a look at that. Subscribe in the link in the description. I'm Dan Saavedra from MergeYourData. If you've heard enough of these videos and you want to take the next step in signal analytics, you want to make sure that you're growing your revenue this year in an efficient manner and in a confident manner, and book a call with our team on our website, MergeYourData.com. I'll see you on the next one.